Hello, hello, and welcome, welcome. This is Dr. Jennifer Fleming, and this is PRM 522, Best Practices in Project Management, and this is Meeting 2. All right, so we are continuing in our journey through best practices for traditional project management. Okay, so I thought I would wait a little bit later before I posted this one because, as I noted earlier in the Unit 1 grade posted, that many of you have not yet had an opportunity to do case 1, so I knew that there was not any urgency on this one, so I thought I would just give myself a little bit more time. All right, but it's now time for us to go ahead and present this material, and again, go ahead and complete it when time permits. As you well know, my adult learner policy, so no pressure. All right, so we're going to be introducing those things that you can expect to see in modules 3 and 4. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, and you got a couple of the little notes on the screen just to reiterate some things that were presented earlier. All right, as I noted in our very first meeting, this course is all about case analysis assignments, okay? And another way of saying it, based on the way this particular course was designed, the designer utilizes this traditional reader comprehension method, which you should be very familiar with if you do standardized tests, which means that everything you really need to know is in the passage. So everything is in the prose, so everything is in the background of the case. Okay, so there's not a lot that I have to introduce to you that's new, that's outside of the case, because everything, all the information, is just like doing the SAT. All the information is within the paragraphs or within the prose that precede the questions. Okay, so the only thing that you have to keep in mind is based on your reading and understanding of the way that the author presents material and their perspectives on different matters, how you should answer the question. Okay, but all of the answers are in the case. All right. Right, so in Module 3, the chapter readings for you are going to be chapters 5 and 6. Okay, and a couple of things that you need to keep into consideration. Each company is unique. Okay, all right, so that means they have their own goals, culture, and leadership styles. Okay, and everybody does not naturally perform all of the best practices that are presented within the PMI handbook. Okay, and so there are usually different stages, if you will, of adoption of those particular standards that are in the PMI um, book of knowledge. And so some people agree with them and are eagerly adopting them. Others are a little bit, maybe a little bit slower in agreement and adoption. Okay. And then some are just completely non-compliant because they don't agree with those principles. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Okay, and there are various levels of agreement and adoption based on particular positions within a company. Okay, so at the lower level, you may find greater adoption, greater openness. At the upper level, you may not. You have more closed mindedness, or vice versa. Okay, you could have greater levels of adoption for new concepts at the upper level and less willingness to do so, closed-mindedness at the lower levels. Okay, so understand your company so that you can understand the environment in which you are trying to attempt or implement a project. All right. Also, things you need to take into consideration. Everybody needs to understand their current level of capabilities before they begin any project. Okay, so any and every project. So even if you started one in the winter, when you get ready to start one in the spring or the summer, you need to do a new SWOT analysis because the conditions within your company may have changed. Okay, and some of the individuals, some of the capabilities, some of the equipment that was available previously may not necessarily be there anymore. So we always try to start with a SWOT analysis so that we can have the most accurate understanding of what we can and cannot do so that we can plan accordingly. Okay, and then recognize, as indicated within your text reading, there are always going to be what we call EEFs, enterprise environmental factors, internal and external factors that will influence or hinder your project. Okay, influence positively or hinder your project, and so you need to be aware of these things. Sometimes they are subtle. It could be simple issues with emotional intelligence, groupthink, societal sentiment, things of that nature. And sometimes they're a little bit more overt. They could be regulatory issues, supply chain challenges, other economic pressures, okay, pandemics, okay. So be aware of those things and include those in your scope statement as well as in your risk management plan so that you can identify them, assess them, determine their probability, determine their potential impact score, and then set aside some funding, some contingency funding, so that you can figure out a way to mitigate or avoid these things. Okay? All right. And then, as I noted earlier, it's worth mentioning again manage projects wisely is not to drive the rare human company resources away. They were hired for needs beyond your temporary endeavor. Okay? Think about it, reflect on it, and then think about it again because that's a powerful statement and it is quite true. All right, let's move on. All right, so in Module 3, they introduce your next assignment. And your next assignment is about Haller Specialty Manufacturing. Okay? And so some of those things that I just mentioned are evident in this case. Okay? But remember, as I indicated earlier, it's like a reading comprehension question on the SAT. Okay? Some of the answers in the case analysis you'll be able to readily find. Others you'll need to be able to ascertain. Develop your own answer based on the insight you have of the author's perceptions, things they feel that are important, and the facts presented in the case. Okay? Sometimes you may need to think beyond what is obvious, okay, or what is comfortable. Okay, for those of you that avoid conflict, this might be a bit challenging, and for those of you that embrace conflict, it might be fun. Okay, but just keep that in mind. All right, so this case is introduced in Module 3, but it's not really due until Module 4. However, okay, since everybody, as I can recall, everybody has their own personal challenges going on, consider trying to complete it in Module 3 so that you can focus your attention on the midterm when you get to Module 4. All right, let's move on. All right, when you get to Module 4, the chapter readings are going to be 7 and 8. And as I noted earlier, the case analysis for Haller Specialty is going to be due, but hey, you're in Module 4 and this is midterm. And so you need to really get prepared and focused on completing your midterm exam. And so I've given you a little bit of insight that consists of 4 short essay questions. So prepare accordingly. Okay, so again, find that quiet space in your life, carve out some time so that you can complete the exam thoughtfully because you have to do it in one sitting. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, if at all possible, go ahead and get Haller Specialty, that case analysis 2 assignment, out of the way when you're in Module 3 so that you can focus your time on your midterm exam in Module 4. Okay? All right, so that's all that I really wanted to share with you for today. As I noted earlier, when you get down to this particular course, the way it's constructed, and again, this is a traditional one, but the way it's constructed, there's not a lot of foundational information that I need to present to you beyond what's already been covered in the textbook and in the PMBOK. Okay? So again, this is Dr. Jennifer Fleming. This was PRM 522, Best Practices in Project Management. If you have any additional questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to me via email or the virtual office. And remember what I said earlier when I posted the grade, Unit 1 grades posted. The case questions for Case 2 specialty, Haller Specialty, are going to be at the end of the case. And the same applies to Continental Corporation, okay, for Case 1, because I think some of you may have missed that one. So make certain when you read the case, flip the page and get to the end so that you can see the questions, okay, because those are the ones that you'll need to answer. All right, I think that's it. Everyone take care, be safe, and I will see you again in another week or so. Bye-bye.